I think that we can assume that most people, in the world have a general assumption that if they ever find themselves in trouble, if they ever find themselves in crisis, that people will be available, people will be out there to help them. Example, if you're ever in a car accident, if you're ever being attacked, people will be there to help you. This is not really the case. There was a terrible story that became world famous in New York some 20 years ago, this Kitty Genovese story. A young woman came back, she was a nurse in the hospital, I believe. She came back from her shift in the morning. She was attacked by a gang. She was attacked and violated for well over a half hour in the courtyard of her building, and nobody helped her. Not just didn't they come out to stop this, nobody called the police. Nobody did a simple process of just picking up the phone and telling the police to come over. Why? Unfortunately, there's a process, there's an issue that very often in the world people say, I don't want to get involved. Who knows what's going to happen? Maybe I'll have to go to the police and give testimony, maybe I have to go to court. It could be a hassle for me. I don't want to get involved. The Torah tells us, Lo ta'amod al dam re'acha. Do not stand by passively when somebody is being endangered. And the Gemara talks about a number of classical examples of what we're talking about. You see somebody drowning, right? You see somebody drowning. Do something. Throw some wood to them, throw the rope in there. If you can swim, save them. In other case, you see an animal dragging somebody off. Do something. Throw a stick, throw stones, try to distract the animal. Lo Aleinu, we always hear these terrible stories about children being killed or attacked by bulldogs, by all these different type of attack dogs. If an adult would be there to stop it, it's true, he may get bitten a little bit, but he'll save the life of a child. The third classical example is if you see robbers are coming, do something. Convince them, call somebody to help out. The Torah says, the Gemara relates this and says, Al tamod al dam re'acha. When you see somebody in danger, when you see something happening to somebody, get involved. Now there's a tremendously interesting discussion that has very wide consequences, hashlachot hilchatiyot, all sorts of halachic considerations. To what degree do I have to get involved? There's a question of halacha, kama adam chayav l'saken et atzmo et nafsho kedei latzil et chavero. To what degree does one have to endanger themselves in order to help somebody else? And this has really become a fascinating discussion. Would I theoretically be obligated to give a kidney to save somebody's life? I have 2 kidneys. All right, listen, most people, their kidneys are working okay, assuming I'm healthy, and I know somebody who has my exact blood type, and it's the chemistry, the matches are all okay. Should I give somebody a kidney? Kama adam chayav lisaken et atzmo. To what degree, a lesser degree, should I be obligated to give blood? We know that there's always blood drives because there's a lack of blood. People go into the hospital, they need blood. Should I be mechuyav to do that? And then there's all sorts of, degrees less so. What about bone marrow donors? How far does the halacha obligate me to go? And then we have discussion of this that goes even further. Are you obligated to endanger your life in war? What about the policeman, the police person? What about the fire person? Are they obligated to jump into the burning building to save somebody? Again, in each context, there are discussions of it. But I would like to say that it's very clear. In the Rambam, you find this in the halachot of Rotzeach Shmir Nefesh. he says that the halacha is al tamod al dam reacha. Again, it's a lo taseh. Do not stand by passively. He says, af al pi she'ein lokin alav ela mipnei she'ein bo ma'aseh behen. Again, even though that if you didn't do anything, you don't get a punishment because it's a negative mitzvah. In other words, you're not meant to do it. So by not doing it, you haven't violated. Chamurim hem. It's tremendously severe. Shekol ha'ma'abed nefesh echad misrael. Anybody who's ma'abed nefesh echad misrael. You see, the Rambam is calling this like you lost somebody's life. You didn't kill him, but you didn't get involved. Ma'abed nefesh echad misrael. Ki'ilu avad kol olam kulom. The Rambam says this is as if you destroyed an entire world. So al tamod al dam reacha, on a very basic level, is to what degree do we have to go out of the way? And the Rambam says we have to go out of our way. And then there's another element of this mitzvah. And it's another thing that we take for granted, but it's really not something we're taking for granted. Al tamod al dam reacha, the Sefer Chinuch explains this. If you know something and you can be called to court to help somebody in their case, al tichvosh et edudatcha. Do not suppress your testimony. It's a hassle. I'm going to lose time. I don't know, what the implications are going to be. No. You need to give edut, because without it, that person's going to be in trouble. The language of the Sefer Chinuch, when he discusses these two facets of al tamod al dam reacha, is very simple. He says, "V'yashev ha'olam bekach." When you do these things, the world will have balance. The world will have structure. Al tamod al dam reacha. The Torah is telling you, not just care about somebody, but go and help them. The discussion, how far I'm obligated to go, may be a halachic discussion. But there's a beautiful piece in the Tzitz Eliezer that even though he says there's certain things that indeed maybe you're not obligated to, he says, Al tiyeh machmir meidai. He says, don't be so worried about that. Tachmir, be more makbid, be more stringent on helping the person. Don't always look after yourself. What's the idea here? Again, we can't be selfish. We have to see the needs of the other, particularly when there is potentially a life-threatening kind of situation. Get out and do it. The Gemara is replete with stories of people who went out, put themselves in danger to help an individual, the klal. Bezrat Hashem, that we should understand what this is all about. I'd just like to finish, and there's a very touching story that moves me every time I say this. My oldest son's officer in the Army, Zecher Tzadik Livracha, Roed Klein. He gave his life. He jumped on a hand grenade to save his chayalim. How much are you obligated to? That's a question. But you see the unbelievable zchut. Roed Klein was a tzaddik. He understood the needs for Klal Yisrael. Yeh zichro baruch.